when you wanted to break your lease, you said to her, like, well, here are your 4 options.
Yes.
But you didn't have any right to give her 4 options. You were the one breaking the lease.
Yes, but we talked for years about living together when I bought
It
a
doesn't matter.
house.
Really, this was your problem, not hers, to begin with.
Yes.
So at that point, you did choose the 4th option. We'll go together to the new home. Okay. Why did you choose that option?
Because she made it like more money saving long term for me, because she promised me like to do the $1,500, right? But after that, I'd just be paying $875, which is less than I was paying at the apartment. Plus the price wouldn't keep going up. So
there was a financial incentive for you to take that option.
Yes.
And then what made you change your mind at the last minute was all of a sudden the financial incentive went away.
Yeah, so here's the thing, you know, she called me on the day that like our stuff was already supposed to be moved in the house. Yeah. And then she didn't even ask me or say like, hey, can you do it? She demanded it from me and goes, well, I can't afford to help you out. And I was like, you're for my friend to call me, demand just more than she even promised me, which was a lot of the reason I went down with her. You know, and I was doing it too, so we could live together. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
this is a lot
that's
deeper.
a lot of why I stopped the contact after that.
This is clearly a lot deeper than the $400, the $50 savings a month, right? It's one friend who feels like they're extraordinarily generous and being constantly taken advantage of, and another friend who feels like they're being kind of lured with money, and the deal was kind of switched on you at the last minute.
Yeah, at that point, I was done talking to her. I was upset with her. I wasn't, like, I blocked her on all social media. I didn't want anything to do with her. I was just done. She had made my life very difficult at that point.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up if my colleagues have other questions.
Isn't it true, Ms. Collins, that you really initiated this whole issue?
Yes, of course.
Because you decided
to buy a house, yes.
To buy a house. You were going to leave in November.
Yes.
In any event. So, according to the lease, you're responsible for the full $2,500. That's what the lease says.
Yes.
The person who breaks the lease is responsible.
But
not the roommates.
Yes.
The person who breaks the lease.
But then they
One
took
second,
back.
please.
Okay.
Now you're suing her for $1,310, which includes $850, and for a day's loss of work. Well, we're not there yet, and we may never be there for the day's loss of work. But when you add that to the $1,650 that the defendant already paid you, that's your full reimbursement for an obligation that you initiated. It's $2,500. Now you want your $1,650 back, but you gave it to her. Mm-hmm. And in your text and email, you recognize some kind of obligation. Mm-hmm. Now you change your mind. Why should you get that $1,650 back? And why should she be responsible for the full $2,500? That's what we have to decide. I don't have anything further. Judge?
I'm good.
All right, thank you very much for your excuse while we deliberate. Thank you very much.
This courtroom is now in recess.
Okay, my suggestion is we dismiss both causes of action.
Yes. She was paid more than half of the break fee.
She's
The
got
plaintiff. I don't know how she justifies that the defendant all of a sudden is responsible for the entire thing. You broke the lease. She paid you half, which shouldn't have happened, but she did, based on whatever agreement that they had, and I think it's a wash.
Yeah, that's the most equitable result. What troubles me is I kind of feel like they had an agreement that she was going to pay her $1,650 and then $850. The defendant said, I will reimburse you for the full lease break fee. And then she made the first $1,650 payment and then just decided not to make the $850 payment. But that agreement, even if it was an agreement, which we don't know for sure, but it didn't take into account the fact that she was leaving.
She was leaving to buy a house, to live in a house that she was going to pay a mortgage on regardless.
With the full rent. So I think I would probably, as a legal matter, find that there was really no enforceable agreement here that disposed of this entire transaction, and so we're left to do what's fair, right? So the question is then, do we reimburse the amount of the lease fee that the defendant paid? And I don't think we do that either, because I think we have to set this aside and say there's really nothing more we can do to this situation.
I think, unfortunately, there's so much murkiness, but the equitable thing to do is a wash. This messy situation, we leave it alone. There's no compelling proof that anybody should owe anybody anything. We shouldn't give her an extra $850.
Right. No. Because then she's made whole for creating this situation.
No.
Right.
But at the same time, the defendant reimbursed her a portion of it because it ended up she paid for her rent for a couple of months and just call it a wash.
Right, and she was given that benefit.
Right.
You follow?
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
We have a
Yes, so
verdict.
we have a verdict.
We have a verdict that's unanimous.